everybody, it's Pac-Man from Drunk Monkey Garage. We are getting ready to start prepping for the paint job on the 2018 Harley-Davidson Street Glide. I'm going to show you some of the components we're using and the test panels I'm going to be painting on. I'm going to be using the fender, the spare fender we had for the 2010 Fat Bob as a test panel. Also going to do a couple of speed shapes because we're going to try one with the Limeline Metal Flake and one with the Limeline Crushed Glass. I prepped the fender using a two-part epoxy primer sealer from Limeline. We used this on the 2010 Fat Bob project with great success. I'll be prepping the speed shapes with an adhesion promoter, and then we're going to give everything a nice coating of electric blue. I went down to my local paint shop and had that mixed up to match the bike. After that, we are going to do a crystal effect, so I'll show you guys how to do that. And then after the crystal effect is done, we're going to mix up a candy green using Limeline's candy concentrates. So I'm going to get to prepping these speed shapes, and I'll get back to you guys when we are ready to lay down some paint. So I've let the adhesion promoter flash off for about 20 minutes, which is what the manufacturer recommends. I've got a little bit of an electric blue mixed up in my gun, so we're going to get that down. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to lock this down with a coat of clear. So we've got the base down and 2 coats of protective clear on it. We're going to let this clear cure overnight and then we'll get back to it. So my plan with the speed shapes is more about the products and the colors than the actual design. I've got 2 products here that I've never used. The Limeline Crushed Glass and the Limeline Silver Metal Flake. So what we're going to do is just tape off a random design and spray our crushed glass and metal flake. At that point, we'll do the crystal effects, and I'll walk you through the steps to do that. Then we're going to mix up our transparent blue and gold yellow to make a candy green to spray over the crystal effects. So at this point, we're just trying to get the colors right and see which of the metal flakes we like better. Once we get all that figured out, we'll move on to the fender and figure out our pattern. So as soon as these speed shapes are cured, we'll move on to the next step. All right, we're back. I've let the clear dry overnight. Went ahead and scuffed down the clear and then taped off my patterns on both of the speed shapes. So what we're gonna do now is put down a coat of just base black. I have this left over from the Fat Bob project, so we're gonna use that. This will give us a good base for our metal flake and crushed glass. So we've got our black base coat down on our graphics. So the next step is to spray the inner coat clear with the crushed glass and the metal flake. First one I mixed up was the Limeline emulated crushed glass. This stuff is very sparkly. I don't know if you guys can see that or not, but we'll do a good video after we get this sprayed. So I'm gonna do as many coats as it takes to get full coverage on that, and we'll be back. So I got the crushed glass laid down. First thing I noticed about that stuff is it is super chunky. It took a lot of material and a lot of pressure and a 1.8 size needle to get that stuff out of there. That being said, I think it's going to be a little bit too big for the project I'm working on, but we'll see. I got to let it dry and then see how many coats of clear it's going to take to smooth it out. So next, I'm going to mix up a couple ounces of the metal flake, which is a little bit finer. It's not as chunky as the other one, so I'm hoping I'll have better results with this. I'm sure this crushed glass has an application, but it was really hard to get nice coverage on such a small part, having to use so much clear. So let's get the silver metal flake mixed up, and we'll get back in the booth and hit that other speed shape. Couple of things you're going to want to do when you're spraying flake is, number one, if you're using the disposable cups, they come with a filter screen in them. You're going to want to tear that out so the flake can get through it. The other thing is, in between coats, you want to keep your gun upside down so the metal flake doesn't clog up your nozzle. I can tell already that this flake is a little more what I'm looking for this project. Still on the large side, but not near as chunky as the crushed glass. I got almost full coverage with my first coat. So we're gonna do one, maybe two more coats at a greater distance to kind of spread that flake out a little more. And then I think we're gonna let both of those dry overnight. And then once they're cured, we'll pull the tape and throw a few coats of lockdown clear on both of them. So we got our patterns laid out, we got our crushed glass down, we've got our metal flake down, and what I did was put a few coats of lockdown clear over them. The metal flake, because it didn't have as much texture, only took about 2 coats of clear to smooth everything out. The crushed glass, on the other hand, took 5 coats. So at this point, I think I'm going to go with the metal flake instead of the crushed glass. They do have a little bit different appearance also. The metal flake is a little more brilliant and sparkly. The crushed glass just gives it a textured silver metallic look. Not quite what I'm looking for. So I think I'm going to stick with the silver metal flake. The crushed glass does have a very unique appearance, and in the right application, I believe it'll do good. So I'm going to keep it, try to use it on another project. But at this point, so far, I'm leaning towards the just the regular metal flake. While I was letting that dry, I went ahead and mixed up my candy green. What I'm shooting for is a color similar to a green apple Jolly Rancher. And I think I've gotten it pretty close. The more layers of the candy you lay down, the more dark it gets. So I think with this mixture, I'll be able to regulate and get this color. The next step in this project is going to be the crystal effect. So I think this is going to be the end of this video, and in the next video I'll give an in-depth tutorial on doing the crystal effects. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell icon for notification of future videos. That's going to do it for this video. So until next time, cheers.